McCartney, who lost his life in the line of duty, had something to say on the Pierce County Sheriff's Facebook page today, and he said it in such a beautiful way. And, of course, that's a deputy that lost his life in the line of duty, leaving behind Sierra, we found out today, and a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old Kim and a 9-year-old.
Yeah, and this is the first time we've heard from any of those family members of this fallen deputy. He says their family will never be the same. Sheriff Corey Honey is the sheriff of Butte County, California. He told us about Deputy Daniel McCartney.
As I told you, I had a soft spot in my heart for Dan. He was a kid that I liked from the minute we met. We just connected, and he had a way about him. He was confident. He loved law enforcement.
Honey is the uncle of Deputy Daniel McCartney's wife, Sierra. He was asked how their 3 young sons are doing with the death of their father. And Honey says there is really only one way to explain that, and that is by talking about their mother.
Daniel was an amazing, amazing man. But the woman who stood side by side with him is equally as amazing. And Sierra has been a rock, and I think she's been a rock for the boys. I mean, she's really been there to try to help through the process. I'm amazed, frankly. The boys, they are processing this in their own way. They're young, and I'm not entirely sure that they fully grasp or understand the gravity or the finality of this particular situation. It will take time.
He says the outpouring of support that they have already seen from the community, from the Pierce County Sheriff's Department, is just amazing. They've been cards, letters, hundreds of folks lining up as that procession went by to bring his body to the funeral home, and of course the monetary donations that will go to the boys.
Donations are so appreciated, and if they find it in their heart to do that, that is one great way. But beyond that, and some of the other things that are just so incredible, I had an opportunity to go to one of the substations where people were leaving flowers and cards and notes and things of that nature. All of that will eventually come to Sierra, and she'll get to look through that and see that. And I got to tell you that as time goes on, I'm confident that those kinds of gestures will mean a great deal to her.
And he said there's one more way that everybody out there can honor Daniel's legacy.
Daniel gave his life protecting this community, and I would hope that people remember that, and when they see a law enforcement officer in this community who is protecting this community going forward, they remember the kind of sacrifice that these men and women make. They remember that they're heroes out there protecting it, and honor Daniel by respecting law enforcement and what they do for us every day.
Yeah, and I just want to say great job to all of you that have left a card, a letter, you've given a monetary donation, and this money all goes to the kids and is set up in a trust. I remember a number of years ago, Ron and I were doing radio in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and there was a young state trooper by the name of Kevin, and Kevin had kids, and he was part of a trooper SWAT team. And if you've ever lived in Michigan, there's a lot of great people in Michigan, go blue, right? But there's also a lot of militias that live in Michigan. And there's a gentleman there that had barricaded himself inside a house, and he'd set a trap, and he was sitting under a stairwell, and he waited for the SWAT team to enter to come get him because he wasn't coming out. And he had rations in there for the rest of his life. He had bullets and beans, there's no doubt about that. And there had been a standoff for days, and the state trooper SWAT team went in to get him and retrieve him and bring him back out and bring him to justice. And he was down in the stairwell. He was shooting up through the stairwell, and he was able to shoot Kevin up through the groin, and it took Kevin's life. And it was really interesting because one of Kevin's partners, we were out at Buffalo Wild Wings, and we went out and we did a radio show, and we took a chest, and we invited people, if you'd like to come by and leave a note or leave a card or leave a dollar bill for his kids that were left behind, to do so. And so people would come, and it was kind of cool because we would see different agencies show up from all different types of places around Michigan. And then you would see fire trucks show up, and firefighters would jump off. And then you'd see a lot of citizens that would just stop by. And they filled this chest. And the cool thing about the chest is not just the money that they put in the chest for the children that were left behind, but were for the cards and letters that were in the chest. And if you've left a card or a letter, I know a lot of, because there's so many of them, and you wonder if the family members actually read these. And initially, it's really hard for them, and they don't. It's too much. It's too much for them. But as they begin to heal, and as the community begins to heal, and as I said earlier when we talked about this, you can't just grieve in perpetuity. And people that have left us too young wouldn't want us to, right? And especially on behalf of the children that are left behind. His widow finally went through that chest. It was years later. And I happen to know that she still has that chest. And she still reads those cards and she reads those letters because it's comforting to her now to remember that time when her husband was taken and the community responded and reacted. It's the same with the Lakewood Four. So many of the cards and letters that were left. And I could share with you the name of the person who was a widow, but I'm not going to do that because I think every time one of these events happen, it's not fair to drag those loved ones back into these stories. But they still have the cards and the letters that you left back in 2009. And initially they couldn't read those, but they do now. And all the money that you gave went toward the 9 children that were left behind. And the same thing for the 3 boys that are left behind. So if you'd like to be a part of something bigger than yourself, there's a legacy fund right now that's put up. Just Google the Pierce County Sheriff's Department. You can do that. The legacy fund will come up, and you can give a card or a letter, or you can also, and you can just send it to Pierce County Crime Stoppers. They'll make sure Sierra and the boys get that. And I guarantee you, as those boys grow older, especially for the young ones, they probably won't remember their dad, but those stories that will be told and the newspapers headlines that will be written, they'll read the cards and letters that you leave them. And sometimes leaving a card or a letter is better than leaving a $5 bill. So
and sometimes people don't know what to say.
Right.
This is what I found. You know, a lot of people want to do something. They want to give you a card or a letter. They don't know what to say. What do you put in that? There's no words that can make you feel any better about losing your father or your husband. But just the act of sending that card is an act of love. You don't have to write anything. Just send it.
That's good. Pierce County Sheriff's Department, Crime Stoppers. There's a legacy fund set up. And we will actually, when they're having Daniel's memorial, on the day they're doing that, we'll send out a text word and we'll share with all of you the legacy fund that you can give to if you want to do that for the 3 boys. And I also said, I know we're running a little late here, but Washington State now doing a much better job at making sure that the family of the fallen are taken care of, because we just not take care of them very well. And we do a better job at doing that. And that's all of us. That's where our tax-paying dollars should go. So, all right, let's check the cards right now with our good friend Tracy Taylor. Kim, thanks for that. We appreciate that. This traffic report this hour brought to you by Michael's Toyota Bellevue, and then we'll come on back with story number 2. We'll light things up a little bit. All right, what do you see?
Should be another 45 minutes before they can get eastbound lanes open on Snoqualmie Pass. So those of you that are headed out to possibly do some night staying in Borden, are going to find this to be a bit of an issue. Again, this is just, they said they were going to open it by 6, but at first it was at 5. So we'll keep you posted if anything changes, but anticipate a 6 o'clock opening of those eastbound lanes. All right, so we're looking at residual backups and some lengthy drive times. 38 minutes from Bellevue to Renton on 405. Those of you that are going Seattle to Everett, it's going to take you about 52 minutes. The same goes for the drive from Seattle heading into Federal Way. We're sitting at 52 minutes. It's busy down around the Duwamish River curves, heading into Midway, past Highway 18. Westbound has some slowing right around Weyerhaeuser. West Valley Highway is shut down at 3rd Avenue Southwest. That is going to be a bit of a problem. Trees down, power lines down, and that's because of a mudslide. Traffic brought to you by Michael's Toyota, Volkswagen, Subaru, Bellevue. 3 amazing brands, 1 local family, all at a single, easy-to-reach location right off I-98 Eastgate. Cairo Radio, real-time traffic. I'm Tracy Taylor.
Ron and Don's Top 5, Bet 5.
Number 2.
All right, story number 2 takes us to a different law enforcement. That's the Seattle Police. And yesterday, U.S. District Judge James Robart found that the SPD is in full and effective compliance with a court-ordered reform imposed more than 5 years ago. So you asked the question, do we give any of the credit to this to the man I like to call Mayor Dumpster Fire? Even though he wasn't the mayor when this order went into place, he was mayor during part of it, and he did talk about body cams.
There's a way for the public to know what happens during these use of force incidents, a way to resolve disputed facts in police shootings. Body cameras for police. We can no longer deprive Seattle of this important tool to create a more detailed record of what happens during critical incidences, a public record that will hold Seattle police officers accountable to their own high standards and our community's important expectations.
He also created the Force Review Board and the Seattle Citizen Oversight Commission.
Yeah, and so we've been under this decree now for the last 5 years, and we're still not out of the woods yet, because now we'll still be watched heavily for the next 2 years. So it's kind of a 7-year process until you can walk away and go, okay, we don't have to deal with the DOJ anymore. And I think if you're going to be fair, it was that mayor, who you like to call Mayor Dumpster Fire, it was that mayor that saw the value in bringing Chief Kathleen O'Toole in. And no matter what you think about her as a police person, because I know there's some people in the rank and file that love her, and there's some people in the rank and file, of course, when you have a couple thousand employees that don't care for you, I think that's probably in any business. She has done, in my opinion, a masterful job because you have to be a great administrator, and she has done a masterful job, in my opinion, again, with the rank and file, and also with the media, making sure, and also in the court system, making sure that the Seattle Police Department met its timely goals. And I think one of the reasons why she wanted to have, do you put a feather in your cap or a feather in your bonnet? Where do you put
I think the feather goes in your cap.
What do you put in your bonnet? You put
bee in your bonnet.
Oh, you have bee in your bonnet, just feather. Whatever that is, I think she knew that this would be her last job as far as a full-time, because she could go somewhere else to even a bigger city and probably be a police chief. I think what she wanted to do is just kind of fly around and get big paychecks and have influence on a lot of different police departments, and that's what she's doing now. That's kind of where the money's at, and I think that's also where she's at in her life. She's ready to step aside and not lead a big department, but tell others that lead departments how they should lead. And so I think Kathleen O'Toole has been very valuable. The reason we had Kathleen O'Toole is because Mayor Dumpster Fire decided to bring Kathleen O'Toole in.
I'll give credit for that. I think it's a very unique time in policing in America, because we went through the phase pioneered in New York. I think it was Robert Gates, and then to LA, the stop and frisk model, the broken windows theory. These were sociology theories that were pretty heavy-handed. Baltimore used stop and frisk laws. You had a lot of major cities buying into this thing of, okay, we're going to identify the neighborhoods where the crime is. We're going to get super aggressive, and we're going to find any reason to stop people and frisk them and interact with them, and that quickly became abused. And we've seen a lot of cases of that abuse, especially the man who died in the back of the paddy wagon in Baltimore.
Baltimore.
And so then I think then the next phase of that was the militarization of the police force. Of like, okay, stop and frisk isn't enough. We need to go farther down this road. We're going to take surplus military gear, and we're going to get it at a very cheap cost from the feds. And then we will have this massive show of force. We're going to show our community that we have overwhelming control through force. That backfired in Ferguson. So, and then the stop and frisk thing backfired in New York, it backfired in Los Angeles, it backfired in Baltimore. And so people were like, no, we don't like to stop and frisk anymore. And then we don't like this over militarization, because now you're just shooting people all the time. And then the cameras, though, were an integral part of that. People seeing folks get shot on the TV over and over and over again, predominantly black people. And so now to navigate through that and go, what is the new policing going to be? Like, how are we going to do this? If it's not going to be overwhelming force and just arresting people indiscriminately doesn't work, what works? And so that's where we're at right now. I don't think anyone has the definitive answer yet, but that's a tough time to be a police chief. And then sort of go, we've had these successive models that we thought were going to work, and they are not working. So now we're trying to find the new thing. And is the new thing everybody has a camera and you bring in a bunch of citizens to help lead us? I don't know. Like, there's some whole flaws to that theory as well. But Seattle is trying to learn and trying to grow and trying to change the culture, and that's difficult in a department of this
Depends
size.
on where you live, too. There's some communities that want community policing. There's other communities that want you to be heavy-handed. They want you to go into neighborhoods and be absolutely heavy-handed. And and police the hell out of people. So it depends on where you live and what the expectations
so
are.
it's almost an impossible job, and we have seen a lot of progress.
Yeah. All right, well said, Ron. Coming up here at the bottom of the hour, Kim Shepard will stop by. She has all your headlines tonight. Tracy will check the cars. And then, and then Ron and Don stop by. How about that? Ron and Don up next. Why are immigration agents charging 7-Elevens? Is it because they love the Slurpee so much? Might be. We'll talk about it next. Ron and Don on Candy's birthday on Power Radio. Why don't you text her, 98973. She loves it. Wish her a happy birthday. Why don't thousands of you do that right now? She's sitting right in front of the screen. No one's saying happy birthday, and she's very sad. She slumped over in her chair. She's like, why am I not home with my kids? Where's my husband at? Why does he bring me Thai food for lunch? Maybe you should take me on a cruise somewhere, a big vacation. Oh no, completely forgotten today. Only person that got her gift was this guy right here. Christmas candy on sale at KFC. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Ron and Don at Power Radio, they're up next.
They wouldn't take the meeting. These guys promised to come up for a week to spend time with us on their own dime. No one was interested. They don't know politics, they said. Who knows emotion? Do you know how powerful emotion can be? My mom was not a rich woman. She worked sometimes 3 jobs. She was working at the county tax assessor's office, a job she hated but needed. And a woman came into the office. Her house was going to be foreclosed upon, and she said to my mother, "Ma'am, you've got to help me. I have children." And my mom wrote her a check, paid her taxes, never got the money back. Emotion works. And the Democrats corner the market on this, but we can do so much. If we were not, I don't mean we, that is you and I, but if the Republican Party were not a bunch of moral cowards, we could right now stop this madness. Like there's now in the Olympic team, I'm just reading, that we're going to, lucky us, have men race bicycles against women. Men with longer legs, with greater lung capacity, larger hearts, and okay, so they're on testosterone blocking therapy. Guess what? The testosterone's already done its job. It's already created all those biological advantages. We could do that by simply saying, let's go talk to the women who are harmed. Let's go have an emotional conversation. Can you tell the difference between the woman who worked her entire life to be in the Olympics as a woman and the man who's decided he wants to take her medal? Yeah, you can tell the difference. One is a dude, one isn't. Or can you tell the difference between the company that had a billion-dollar lobbyist and the one that didn't? And then you have the business owners speaking of themselves, just like CNN did. One business got away with what they wanted to do, another business did not. Side-by-side comparison. Go tell the story of overtaxation. You could do that in Seattle in a heartbeat. If the Washington State Republican Party had a chief emotional officer or a creative officer, they could go through Seattle and find people being taxed out of their home. They could go through King County and find people being taxed out of their homes. If they were interested in such, they could go out and find people being kicked out of their houses by Sound Transit. I just found out one of our colleagues has had her house taken by Sound Transit. You could tell those tales. And why do you do that? So that you build your way towards policy. It's a longer process, and you combine it with facts, but emotions are what draws people in. It's the human equation. It's that they're worried about their neighbor. They're worried about themselves. People worry about their neighbors because it means one day that could happen to me, is what it means. So the chief emotional officer for the Republican movement would spend time finding these stories, would solicit these stories, and would tell them in the way that CNN has done. one other thing, and this is vital. If I had enough money to really change Republican politics and conservative politics, you know how to invest it? I'd do shadow investments in students. Shadow scholarships. I would find students who were genuinely talented at film and storytelling and advertising and graphics, but were genuinely conservative and likely to stay conservative, and I would send them to school. I would bankroll it. The Koch brothers could do this. So that we start to turn people out of the schools who come out with these points of view intact. Encourage them to keep the points of view. Encourage them to be the change makers. That's an investment that the communists made. No, I know. I'm a fire-breathing conspiracy theory hack. Except they flat out said, here's what we're going to do, and then they did it. That would be a major change. I would pray that the professional Republicans would kind of figure that out, but then it would take God to get them to figure it out. We'll come back on the Todd Herman Show, and speaking now of emotions, let's shift gears. Let's get into some facts. The Fusion 360 testimony, parts of it. No, the whole thing's not been released. Don't be silly. Dianne Feinstein had some things redacted. We'll get to that. We're told that it completely flips the narrative, and now Trump's in real trouble. The fact is, it's classic Glenn Simpson, classic Black Ops Oppo nonsense. We'll get into that when we continue in the Todd Herman Show on AM 770 KTTH on the Greater East Side, 94.5 FM.
Traveling home towards Tukwila, watch out for the brake lights. Southbound I-5, it's pretty tough out there from Interurban Avenue. Head on out towards 200. Out of Bellevue, crowded too. 405 southbound from Northeast 8th Street. Stay slow now out towards Cold Creek Parkway. This traffic report is brought to you by Staples. Staples keeps your ink stocked and your business moving this year. Right now, buy 1 HB ink and get the second at 30% off. Ends 113. Restrictions may apply. See store or staples.com for details. Staples, it's pro time. You're listening to AM 770 KTTH.
Hey, we've got big breaking news on the Todd Herman Show, AM 77.
10,000 square feet of security solutions, over 80 different high-resolution cameras, no costly fees or contracts. Don't trust your business security to a cheaply built security system shipped in a box with poor performance and no customer service. Join the hundreds of businesses who trust 24/7 protection to protect their livelihoods. Visit 24/7 Protection in Tukwila.
Do you know what the biggest complaint people have with carpet cleaning is? It's drying time. With most companies, it takes 3 or 4 days. At Pure Clean, our trucks are equipped with massive vacuum systems that remove 8 times more water, so your carpet's dry in just 3 to 4 hours, not 3 to 4 days. Call Pure Clean right now and get $49 off any carpet cleaning job. Find us at purecleanseattle.com. That's purecleanseattle.com.
It's Rachel Bell, and December is often a good time to get a new car because dealerships are trying to clear the lots of the 2017 models. Well, if you got busy and now you're regretting that you didn't get a great deal on a great car, head to Chevrolet of Puyallup. They already have discounts on the new 2018 models, including up to $10,000 off Chevy Silverado trucks. That's $10,000 off the most dependable, longest-lasting, full-size pickups on the road. There are a million car dealerships. You can get a Chevy all over the country, but the reason to come to Chevrolet of Puyallup is their excellent staff. Think of every negative, stereotypical reason that you wouldn't enjoy buying a car and throw it out the window. The salespeople at Chevrolet of Puyallup are friendly, down-to-earth, super knowledgeable, and most important, they are transparent. They don't have their fingers crossed behind their backs. They will show you the factory invoice so you can see what they paid for the car and what you're going to pay for it. And when you buy any new vehicle at Chevrolet of Puyallup, you get oil changes and warranty for life. Be treated the way you want. Find new roads the no-stress way at Chevrolet of Puyallup. Visit ChevroletofPuyallup.com.
Keep up with the conversation. Sign up for the Cairo Radio News Rundown at mynorthwest.com. Live from the Cairo Radio News Center.
An emotional hearing in the state Senate today where Marco Lias introduced a measure designed to curb the use of conversion therapy in teens.
They include things as monstrous as inducing nausea, vomiting, and paralysis while showing children erotic images. This is torture.
But there were several people who testified against the measure, like Dr. Terry Trudell, who says lawmakers shouldn't regulate the therapies that are available for his patients.
Are you able to see into another person's heart, to know how to legislate their sexuality? Is it wise to prevent someone from seeking assistance in exploring and choosing their expression of sexuality.
If passed, performing conversion therapy on a minor would be considered unprofessional conduct and could threaten a doctor's license to practice. The former deputy who accused ex-King County Sheriff John Urquhart of grabbing his crotch 4 years ago has now filed a counter lawsuit. Brian Barnes says Urquhart defamed him when he said that his allegations were malicious and politically motivated. Urquhart already has a pending defamation lawsuit against Barnes. Eastbound lanes of I-90 have closed at least 3 times throughout the day at Snoqualmie Pass after multiple spinouts and crashes. There is a winter storm advisory in effect right now. Both Stevens and Snoqualmie could have some pretty dangerous driving conditions. Let's check it out now with Cairo Radio real-time traffic.
Yeah, and hopefully to have those eastbound lanes open and within the next half an hour. I'm going to keep you posted, of course, every 10 minutes on the 3s as we take a look at a couple of other blocking incidents. Excuse me. We have this mudslide that's blocking both directions of the West Valley Highway at 3rd Avenue Southwest. Bellevue PD tweeting out that they are on the scene of a mudslide at 97th Avenue Southeast to Southeast at 11th Street. That is going to be shut down for the time being. We are looking at a very difficult drive on South 95 as we still leave South Center, heading up through Midway, off and on around Highway 18 towards the Tacoma Dome. The northbound 5 drive is pretty busy, though, as we work our way into parts of Everett. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing some slowing through Mount Lake Terrace. Once again, around Highway 2 up towards State Route 528. Nothing reported to be blocking there. If you're headed across the lake, 90 is slow in both directions on and off of Mercer Island, and 520 from Bellevue Way across the water heading into downtown Seattle. Traffic brought to you by, let's see here. Hold on, hold please. Great Floors, stressing about doggy accidents, your carpet a thing of the past. Be confident your home is clean with Lifeguard Carpets from Shaw Flooring and Great Floors. Find your store at greatfloors.com where their name says it all. Cairo Radio, real-time traffic. I'm Tracy Taylor.
Rain continues to fall in our forecast through tonight and into Friday as well. Temperatures tonight will be mild, dropping only around 44 degrees. Expected to be soggy until Saturday morning, and then we should start to dry out for a very nice weekend. I'm Cairo 7 pinpoint meteorologist Tiffany Sanders. 51 degrees outside the Carter Subaru Studios. I'm Kim Shepard.
Ron and Don's Top 5 at 5.
Number 3.
All right, Tom's got a code word for you. To hear the code word, go to mynorthwest.com/5.
It's Candy tonight. It's Candy's birthday, and again, she only got one text message, which is really sad. How many text messages you got? What's she doing?
Please ask for a response when you text.
98973. She promises to respond to each and every one of them. So how many text messages have you received?
You want the real count?
Yeah.
We're past 200-300 at this point.
98973. She wants to read each and every one.
I do like the ones that say, have a good time in your 21 round tonight.
Nice.
You know it.
Forever 21.
Yeah.
So story number 3 takes us to the 7-Eleven, the convenience store near you.
What's your favorite thing in the 7-Eleven, by the way? If you have to eat,
So the only time I go in convenience stores is to buy lotto tickets and then to check and see my lotto ticket.
What if you have to eat? It's the only store. There's an earthquake. All the bridges are down. The only thing you can eat is from 7-Eleven. What are you going to have?
If I'm on a road trip and I go into a convenience store, it's it's the bag. It's peanuts, but they have that little candy shell thing on them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I get a bag of those.
Oh, you do?
Or of the sunflower seeds in some weird flavor that I didn't have growing up.
Yeah.
That's my usually go-to. What about you?
I don't eat 7-Eleven.
Yes, you do.
No. Don't. No.
Oh, he had to answer, but you're too good for the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I don't need. I
Ballpark, Frank?
I can't believe I can't believe you answered that.
Oh man, I would have one of those.
My son and I will go in there and we will make Slurpee.
The subcontractor, Christopher Steele, who gathered the, quote, human intelligence in Russia that was the basis for the dossier. Simpson's contributions consisted of searching public data sources in a manner that does not sound impressive. For example, these are Simpson's words. Ready? Want to hear how big time the research was? What we generally do is start at the beginning of the case. If it's possible, to order all the books about the subject from Amazon so we're not reinventing the wheel and we know it's been written and said before. So this was typical. We ordered every Donald Trump book, and to my surprise, that's a lot of books. I was never very interested in Donald Trump. He was not a serious political figure I'd ever had any exposure to. He's a New York figure, really. So anyway, we read everything we could read about Donald Trump. Those books cover his divorces, his casinos, his early years dealing with labor unions and mafia figures. To the extent that Simpson tried to verify the allegations. Okay, so you read some Amazon books, Glenn Simpson. Good. So question came from the committee. So beyond what's in the dossier, did you kind of find any evidence that it had actually been compromised? Now I'm speaking of Carter Page, Glenn Simpson. Well, the definition of compromised is someone who has been influenced, sometimes without even their knowledge. We had reason to believe that, in fact, had been offered deals that were that would tend to influence him business arrangements. Bombshell! Glenn Simpson, speaking not under oath, feels that Carter Page, who I warned you about, just like I warned you about Manafort and sadly Kelly, may have been unconsciously colluding. Also continuing from Powerline blog, Simpson apparently voluntarily and his lawyers asserted numerous objections so that Simpson failed to answer many relevant questions. Simpson was not an attorney for Hillary or the DNC or the Free Beacon when they started creating these dossiers, this Oppo research, but they agreed to let him beg off of answering some of the questions. So he got opposition research, bottom of the barrel scraper, dark arts character assassination for hire privilege instead of attorney-client privilege. So he was asked about how he shopped the books, the Steele dossier, the dirt to various media topics, to various media places. So the question was about this, and he goes on in lists, and he's described as embarrassed. The journalists initially briefed at the end of September. The defendants were New York Times, Washington Post, Yahoo News, New Yorker, CNN. The second defendant, that was Mr. Steele, subsequently participated in further fusion meetings with the New York Times, Washington Post. So they go on this long list of publications. They were trying to get to place this. And by the way, one of their business models, Fusion GPS, they'll write articles for you, and you get to put your name on it. So they ask him, to the best of your knowledge, is that a full and accurate account of all the news organizations which Fusion and Mr. Steele shared information in memorandum? They ask him, and he says, I say that's largely right. Are there any that have been omitted? Yeah, maybe, yeah. Yeah, because you shopped it everywhere. These are just the annoying things that put into question if it's so bomb-breaking and news-breaking, why did they have to, forgive my language, but pimp it everywhere? Then they ask him, and here's just one of these things where they go back and forth between privilege. Did your client ask you to have these meetings with these media organizations? Now remember, Glenn Simpson doesn't want to talk about his clients. We know that the dossier was underwritten by Hillary, the DNC, at some point the FBI, and in the beginning of the Free Beacon. His attorney breaks in. The answer to that question might implicate privilege or obligations that we've set forth. It wouldn't implicate privilege because Glenn Simpson's not an attorney, so they made sure they didn't have to disclose their clients. You remember when Glenn Simpson wrote in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, wrote this piece about how he was so transparent, he wanted these transcripts published. The American people must know we're being attacked because we were anti-Trump. The government's turned against us. This bring forward the facts. Do you remember all that? Well, then why are you refusing to disclose facts to this committee? Furthermore, the lawyers who represented Republicans on the Senate committee were very interested in another project that Fusion GPS had carried out at the same time, and that was to smear Donald Trump on behalf of the Clinton campaign.